It's CodeSparks here, and welcome back to Beginner's Java Tutorial in 10 minutes or less. Today we'll be looking over creating a package and a Java project and working with variables and what are variables. Okay, to start off, you just want to right-click in your Package Explorer, mouse over in New, and then Java Project. Once you go to Java Project, you want to name it something. For this example, I'll be naming it Tutorial 1. And then you can open it up, and you'll see a source folder. When you right-click the source folder, you'll also see a new one. You want to create a new package. Name the package depending on your domain, but how I normally name it is me.yourname, which in this case I will put my name, which is davidcoulter.com. That's perfectly fine, but if you have a domain, you can make sure to use that, especially if you own any kind of company or are wishing to create a small one. Okay, next you'll need to create a class. There is proper naming for classes and everything, but for this example, I'll just be naming it main. This is just to get it started and we can go through. I will have to type a little bit of code that takes a little bit to understand, but I'll explain it as easy as I can go. Public means it's a public and any other class can access it. Static means anything can access it without making an instance of it, which you'll learn about instances later in this tutorial. Void means it returns nothing, which you'll also learn more about. And then for it to be the main function that runs when you run the program, it needs to have main. There is stuff that you need to put in here, which I'll explain later because it's a little bit more advanced, but for now, just bear with me. I will go over it very shortly, but this is the first thing that runs when you run a jar file. This is what runs through the program. Okay, now we'll look into what we actually came here for. We'll look at variables. There are different types of variables, including an integer, which is identified as int. There's a double, which holds a decimal number, and int holds a normal number. A double is like this. Then there's also a float, which is kind of like a double but slightly different. You'll learn about that later, and that's also a decimal value. There's also a string, which I'll get more onto later. Now, there's also a few others that you'll learn about as you go, but these are the basics. Okay, now we'll learn to use one of these. I'll show you how to use one of these. First of all, you'll need, these are called identifiers. And the next thing is the variable name, because these are variables. So we'll name it something that we can easily understand. For this, we'll call it age. And we'll make the age equal to, which use the equal sign to assign a value to something. We'll make it 12. We can also create a double, and we're going to call it height, and we can make it equal to 60 inches and 60.3 inches if we wanted to. You can also create a float, which is like a double, but used differently. I'll explain that later. I'm sorry I'm explaining so much later, but it's more advanced when you use a float and double. A float is a floating number, which will often change a lot. So we're going to name this weight, and we're going to equal it to that. To declare it as a float, you just need to put an F at the end because it's a floating value. There's one more, and that is called a char. A char means it's a character, it's a single character. How you would define that would be with, let's say, we're going to name this group, for example. The group equals, with single quotes, not doubles, you would put the character. It can be anything, it can be special characters if you wanted. It can be absolutely anything you want. And if you wanted that, it would be a thing. I'll go quickly over what a string is. A string you define with just a string keyword. You would name the string, for example, I'll name this name. And we'll set it equal to double quotes, because this is not a single character. And then we can set this to David. And now that's all the basic variables and how to use them. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and will continue along. And make sure to drop in the next one and subscribe and leave a like.